If you are an influencer, you have a brand or a business, and you're on social media, are you allowed to use popular trending sounds in the content you're creating, even if you're not specifically saying, buy my product? Does that still count as commercial use? Let's talk to Professor at IP and Entertainment Lawyer Tony to find out more.
My name is Tony Iliakostas. I'm an adjunct professor of entertainment law and IP at New York Law School, and I have an Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok account called The IP Professor that's dedicated to all things intellectual property.
Let's talk a little bit about content creators on TikTok, on Instagram, and even on YouTube Shorts who are creating maybe lifestyle content to represent different products that they like to sell their audience, perhaps through affiliate links, who choose to use popular and trending songs like Taylor Swift. Is that something they are allowed to do legally, or does that constitute a problem for us?
Yeah, so that's definitely something that is prohibited behavior, and not like I'm talking about like, oh, it's illegal. It's basically this understanding that not many people realize that when you're using a video to promote the sale of a product or a good or service, whatever it is, and let's say you're using the hashtag ad or the hashtag sponsored, hashtags in your caption, or if, like you said, Cam, you're routing people to your Amazon storefront, you say link in bio, or you're doing something to solicit a sale, all of that would qualify as commercial use. You are encouraging people to basically engage in a transaction with a product or service or whatever it is that you're offering. And when you're using commercial music, that's no different than if you were rolling a Target ad saying, oh, these scarves are now $10 and you can get these awesome all-clad pot set for $79.99. And you've got, playing in the background like a Dua Lipa song in the Target ad. Obviously, you're showing product, price tag, with people using it in the ad, mind you, and you're using commercial music. That you could use commercial music, but it's the understanding that when you have access based on your whatever account you have on TikTok or Instagram or on YouTube Shorts, your account type allows you certain access to specific music. If you have a personal account, you're definitely going to have access to the commercial music. The trick, though, is that major popular music like Taylor Swift, like Dua Lipa, like Beyonce, any of these other major popular artists, your use of their songs is only for personal use. If you plan on using it for commercial use, that's when you have to go to the record label and the music publisher, or plural, record labels and music publishers, to say, hey, I'm making commercial content on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube. Can I use it? Can I get a license? You would have to negotiate the terms for your media, territory, and term rights. So are you looking for worldwide all media in perpetuity? Are you looking for North America only digital, in the digital space only for a 10-year term? All of those little nuances and those specific terms are going to trigger a specific license fee. And one thing we haven't even talked about in the music space, especially, there's something called most favored nations, which basically means that whoever gets a certain license fee or whoever has the highest license fee will be the equivalent fee for all the other players involved in that license. So if, let's say, the music label for Taylor Swift says, oh, to use this song, you need to pay $5,000. Her music publishers could say, or her directly, if you're working with her, since she owns the copyright to her own music, that's when, in that case, she could say $2,000 or most favored nations. So now you have to pay her the most favored nations fee, which is $5,000. You have to pay the equivalent of what you're paying the label. This is a common consequence in the music licensing space. It can get very expensive and very tedious. So if you're in the business of using commercial music, there are a few kind of like notes that you should take as you do a checklist. Number one, ask yourself, am I promoting a product or a service? If you are, do not pass go, do not collect $200. Don't even think about using commercial music. Then your second question is, if you are using a product or promoting a product or a service, regardless of whether you have those hashtags, regardless of whether you have, a link in bio, whatever it is, if you are somehow using it in some type of commercial manner and you're willing to pay a license fee for a commercial use license, then that's when you have to ask yourself, what's my budget? Because it is not going to be cheap. The internet taps into a whole wide web of different people. Tons of people from tons of countries. And let me add that especially in the social media space, you literally do not have the ability to geo-block. So you have no control whatsoever. You can't control your content just being available in North America, just being available in Europe or in South America or anywhere else. You have there is no control on that front whatsoever. So you are pretty much screwed when it comes to having control on the territory front. So that means that your price is going to drive up immeasurably. And then third and finally, when you're asking yourself, you have the money, you have the specific that you're using it for commercial use. Then your third question is, if you're and this is sort of an optional brand. If you're working with a brand, then your question to the brand should be, are they willing to cover the cost of your commercial use in a specific, let's say, branded partnership or some type of collab with them? The reason why I'm bringing that up is because there have been tons of lawsuits related to brands who have used commercial music to promote their products. Sony Music went hard, basically ripped a new one into Bang energy drinks because they went so heavy on the commercial music use that the damages added up to $200 million plus just from using commercial music in little short 30-second TikTok ads of people dancing to Dua Lipa holding up a Bang energy drink. Again, the question I always ask is the same question I'm going to ask here. Are my pockets deep enough to handle a claim of that sort? And, clearly, $200 million, that you're going to have pretty deep pockets for something like that. So all that to say, if you're going to use, if you're going to promote products, you're going to promote a service, regardless of what it is, be mindful of how it does feel like a commercial in nature. And your use of commercial music does trigger a potential additional license fee in a circumstance like that. Obviously, your workaround there, use royalty-free music. It's the way to go. It allows for commercial use, but it's the content, the music that comes from major labels like Universal, like Sony, like Atlantic Records, all these different labels. It's that music that's going to obviously raise a red flag.
So let's talk about some specifics here, because we are going to be getting questions from people who say, well, I'm not directly selling the product. So for example's sake, let's say that I jump onto my author account and I'm creating a video about 3 ways I get prepared to write my novel. And as part of that, I'm going to use a phone charger to set my phone down while I am typing to make sure that I don't drain my battery. I'm not directly selling this, but it is here. It is very much implied this is a product that I recommend. And it's very much implied that my links are going to be in my bio if that's something you also want, because I very clearly featured it without directly saying buy this product. Is that then covered to use the commercial use music, or is that something that's going to be a problem?
I think it's going to be circumstantial, but given the circumstance you're talking about, I still think it would feel very commercial in nature, because if the whole premise of the video is your promotion of that product in an indirect and almost a subliminal way, that's when it still has the general feel of like a commercial promotion of a specific product. You're still encouraging people, if you want to be an author like me and you want to charge up your phone, here, I have this awesome Anchor charging pad that I've used. And you're not saying those words directly, but your use and your feature of that product implies that. Mm-hmm. And in having that in tandem with link in my bio, check out my Amazon storefront, and using commercial music generically all together, that adds up like no different again than having a major retail store showing products, showing people using it, showing the price tag, and then telling people this is available at X store. And all the while in the background, you've got some type of major music, a popular song playing in the background. So that said, though, it's always going to be very different. That the beauty of the law is that it's not a cookie cutter model, maybe for better or for worse, but whatever. In this circumstance, no scenario of copyright infringement, and certainly no scenario of an infringement related to music, is going to be similar to in each circumstance. They do follow a general pattern that is consistent, but for the most part, they're not really that similar. They tend to vary based on a lot of circumstances and the uses of the content and whatnot. That said, though, you want to play it safe. There's tons of case law that has shown that music labels and music publishers are very protective of their IP. And if they even see an ounce of commercial use related to that involves their music, that's when they're going to hop on the bandwagon and get basically their bread, because
Yeah.
not only are they getting a license fee, but now they're in the process of paying out a residual to the artist, because that said artist has clauses likely in their contract related to royalties, to residuals for every play of their song in some type of manner. So not only is the label and the music publisher being disadvantaged, but so are the performers involved in the song, and maybe even the writers. There is a world where maybe a songwriter is afforded royalty payments for every license of the underlying musical composition of a major song. So there are a lot of players that are going to be disadvantaged and sort of not made whole in a circumstance like that. Now, obviously, if you have any questions about music licensing, or if you're wary about essentially the example that Cam mentioned, I highly advocate going to a lawyer, especially one that specializes in music law or music licensing. They can really weigh out all the pros and cons of using commercial music in some type of social media content, especially if that is the bread and butter of your business. Having a music lawyer give you that advice, they have the best knowledge and the best insight into what the labels usually ask for, how difficult they are to work with, and is it worth your while to even tread on the thin ice that is music infringement cases. It's a wild west out there, generally speaking, in the IP space. But surely, when you're talking about music infringements, it's definitely one thing that you don't want to play around with. It's the fire that looks really nice. You want to touch it, because it feels too fake. But why risk it? You're going to burn yourself. So don't play around with it.
And if you have questions, you are going to your lawyer to get those questions answered. They can navigate you through how you're going to work with your specific content. But if you've seen things happening on the internet where you want to know, is this something we can do? Is this something I should be talking to my lawyer about? Is this something that's okay? Now's a great time to drop those questions here for us, because Tony's coming back for upcoming episodes to keep us safe and protected in the content creator space. And we want to make sure we're getting those questions answered. As always, you can reach out to Tony on his social media. Tony, where can everybody find you?
You can find me on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at the IP Professor. You can check out my entertainment law podcast called Unseen, with new episodes dropping every Friday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts.
Drop your questions down below. We want to make sure that we are keeping you on the legal and the ethical side of content creation as a brand and as an influencer. So now is the time to get those questions in for Tony, for me, and for the other experts we have here on the channel, as we help you to continue to navigate the world of being an entrepreneur on social media, to make the time commitment easier for your content creation and make this your most profitable year ever. We'll see you in the upcoming episodes.